So one winter, I decided to take the bus from Rawalpindi to Kashgar in China in an attempt to try and learn the Chinese language. And in that journey, it took a while, it took almost a month, I stumbled upon Shigar Valley. And I stumbled on it in the dead of winter, and it was so beautiful, it really stayed in my mind. Anyway, the following year, when I came back home, I decided that I wanted to work here and do something here, more than what I generally do, what drives me, which is the mountains. I have a great passion for the mountains, and I'm a gardener. So I got in touch with an organization that works in the north. It's called AKCSP. I met the CEO of this organization per chance that winter, and I asked him what they were doing in the area, and he gave me a string of projects that they were doing in a part of northern Pakistan, and this one obscure garden. It was a school that they had built, and they needed the garden to be landscaped and designed. And so I offered my time, and I thought, yes, I'll come and I'll design it for you. But they also told me, you need to teach 5 of our interns, female Shigari interns, how to landscape design. Anyway, I showed up in Shigar. I stayed there for 2 months. I rented a house. Within the first month, I realized that whatever I was trying to teach these girls via books wasn't really happening. And so a month later, we just shut the books, and I decided that all these principles of landscape design, or design, good design, need to really be understood through the landscape itself. So we shut the books, and we started walking this landscape. And not only within the Shigar Valley, but as far as I could possibly take them to the surrounding valleys, to the Skardu Valley, to the Khaplu Valley, so that they can see and compare what their own landscape was, and also do extensive research on what were the prevalent gardens in the area. And these girls, after 2 months of really understanding perspective and harmony and asymmetry and symmetry and focal points through the landscape itself, came up with a plan, which we called at the time a teaching garden. But when it was presented to AKCSP, they thanked me for it. They were very impressed with what these girls had done, but said, we have no money to implement the design. Thank you so much, and that's it. This was a huge setback and a real shame, and I felt that it wasn't fair to the girls, and it wasn't fair to me, and most importantly, it wasn't fair to the school, which was going to now become operational in early 2010 without a garden. To my good fortune, while I was doing this work for 2 months, a filmmaker had come up to Shigar with me, and she had filmed my work just for the heck of it. All that filming that she'd done was made into a short 20-minute video called A Garden in Shigar. I had presented that to AKCSP along with a very detailed report of the work that I had done in those 2 months, figuring that if they wouldn't read the reports, they'd at least see the film, and they'll know the work that went into it and the development of these girls from 0 to, let's say, 50. That too didn't seem to impress anybody too much, except in the following year, a film festival came about. It was an international film festival in which Mahira submitted her film, A Garden in Shigar, and she won an award for it. That award was a small monetary award, but that was seed money to start building the garden. And because of that film, many people saw this project all over the world. They started contacting me and asking me what happened to the garden, what happened to those girls, and if nothing has happened, why not? And so I told them, there's no money for it, there's no interest by the organization who actually began the work. All these phone calls led to 2 very important ones. One was a young architecture student who was studying at McGill University at the time. He called me and he said, I would like to help. This is a fantastic project, and you must build this garden, and these girls must be taught how to landscape design, really. And how do we do this, and how do we help? And I said to him, his name is Kareem. I said, Kareem, we need a website. We need a presence from which to introduce the world to what's going on. And nobody will give me Tahir Shirazi cash to go and build a garden. So we need a fiscal sponsor. Again, to everyone's good fortune, the CEO of TCF USA contacted me, and he asked, so why has this garden not happened? And same story. And so he very graciously said to me that we can be your fiscal sponsors, and whoever would like to donate towards this garden, we link it to our website, and they can donate through our website. When a small amount of funds were raised through this volunteer-based website, I was able to go back to Shigar in about June of 2011. And two volunteers, the first volunteers, which was Karim himself, and an architect from Islamabad, Ibtisam Puya. The two of them went up to Shigar, and now they redesigned the entire garden space with the ideas of the children of the school. When I went back, I really wanted to re-engage the girls, the 5 interns who had worked with me in 2009. But all of them were married, some of them had had children, some had moved away from Shigar. And so there was just no way to bring them back into the fold of actually doing, moving on with the building of this design that they had put together. So then the next best thing, and actually the best thing, was to involve the children of the school. And Karim and Ibtisam really very, very effectively did do that.
ताहिरा जी इस गार्डन को बनाने के लिए आए हैं। पिछले साल तकरीबन 1.5 महीने का गया था, अभी फिर वापस आएगा। इंशाल्लाह इस साल गार्डन मुकम्मल हो जाएगा और अगले साल जहाँ हमारा इसकी तजुर्बात भी करना शुरू हो जाएगा।
The first batch was just 60 students. They divided them in groups of 10, and they had each group actually draw up a design on the school grounds itself. And then everybody took a vote, the students, the teachers, the principal, everyone. And then they picked all the best elements of each group's designs. And then Ibtisam, being an architect, put it all together onto a CAD. And it's all of those children's ideas that are the design that's being built in stages.
तेरी सलामती से मेरी आबरू रहे, तेरी सलामती से मेरी आबरू रहे, ए अर्ज़ पाक जिंदा व पाइंदा तू रहे, तेरी सलामती से मेरी आबरू रहे।
मैं एक बाग हूँ, फूलों से है पहचान मेरी, फलों से है शान मेरी, रंगों में है जान मेरी। मैं एक बाग हूँ, मैं हूँ महल फलों के बादशाहों का, हर रंग और हर नस्ल के दरख्तों का, तितलियों का और परिंदों का। मैं एक बाग हूँ।
फिर यहाँ पे ये जो बीच का हिस्सा है ये
After that show and tell, of course there was a whole lot more interest which started to come from within Shigar itself. The following year, 2012, we all spent primarily, and by we all I mean myself and the few other volunteers who were involved in helping this process go forward, in raising funds for the school garden. And now that we had a website, there was a world presence, and as funds got raised, I encouraged more volunteers to go to Shigar. One young lady who was also a filmmaker based in Lahore, Hira Nabi, she went to Shigar for summer of 2012. So she conducted summer school. They learned a lot of interesting things about soil management, about in vitro fertilization in potatoes, in all kinds of interesting environment-based activity.
ये सीबकथॉन के साथ क्या कर रहे हैं बच्चे?
सीबकथॉन को जरा प्लांट करेंगे, उसके बाद इसका फेंस बनाने के लिए कटिंग करेंगे बराबर। तो
I learned from my experience with those 5 interns was that learning by doing was a whole lot easier than learning by just reading concepts and learning by rote memorization.
हमीदुल्लाह 8 क्लास में।
क्या कर रहे हो?
पौधा लगा।
कौन सा पौधा?
सफेदा, ताकि हमें यहाँ पर अच्छे साया मिल जाए, ऑक्सीजन मुहैया हो।
और आज क्यों कर रहे हो?
आज से पूरा इसलिए ताकि पूरे पैसा में प्लांटेशन डे इसलिए लगा है।
I figured that the language that these children speak really well and the most is the language of agriculture. They are all farmers' children. They know what it means to plant a seed and how much water to give it and how much sun it needs because they've grown up doing it and seeing it. But the science behind agriculture is another language altogether. So how about bringing all their subjects to life, bringing social studies and math and science and English and Urdu and Islamiyat to life by doing it and connecting the subjects to each other. So that was really what was driving me to keep this going and keeping it alive. In 2013, I decided that I need to really spend a full school year in Shigar and really worked with this community up close and understood their strengths and their weaknesses and my own weaknesses and strengths in how we could make this work as a community now, as a whole.
We were measuring the patches and the cricket pitch to get, like, we've measured the walls, now we're doing what's in between the walls. So we're measuring that with the kids, and they'll be plotting it down.
Plotting it down on scale using the triangular scale. They have a concept of what the triangular scale is and the different scales that it has. So with the help of it, then we will be mapping it down with the students.
In the summer months, we had 7 interns come in to work who were students of Indus Valley School of Art. All of them were studying architecture. They came and spent 6 weeks in Shigar and did some very basic mapping skills that they taught all the children of the school. The older children, the 10th graders, were taught about a geodesic dome, what it is, where the concept came from, because one of the architecture students wanted to build a geodesic dome for their outdoor seating area. They didn't succeed in building it, but these kids learned about Buckminster Fuller and geodesic domes.
आज हमारे बायो और उर्दू की कंबाइंड क्लास हुई, जिसमें हमने अपने गार्डन में लेसन के बारे में कहानी लिखी.
And similarly, they were studying biology, the 10th graders, about, what were they studying? They were studying root stems, about which they grew those root stems, and then they wrote stories about it, and that was connecting Urdu. They wrote their stories in Urdu, connecting stories, connecting art to language to biology. So a lot of connections and links were made to their subjects, and for the teachers it was the first time that somebody was sort of guiding them in how do we do this, how do we connect our subject matter to the garden and its activities. So now, 3 years later, the school is well primed to take on this project themselves. The idea behind it is also to extend this school gardening to all the area schools and make it something that becomes almost intuitive. That if there is a piece of land, you grow on it, you harvest from it, you cook from it, you eat from it, you celebrate from it, you bring community in, and you simply strengthen education. This year, I think that the teacher training programs that I hope to conduct at the Abruzzi School Garden will bring the other teachers in. They'll see from it. Certain spaces have been built last year that give it even more credence. And since we've done some of the exercises last year, we've, aside from the story writing and journal writing, we've also done cooking exercises, which were really the most fun exercises. 6th grade did tomato soup, 7th grade did pumpkin halwa, and 5th grade did sandwiches. And 5th grade actually sold their sandwiches. They made money. They understood economics through agriculture. And so this year when I hope to be, the school and I, all of us together, hope to build a kitchen on the school garden, that will create a whole other level of education that most people are not familiar with, is bringing food and the science of food and the math of food and the chemistry of food, and most importantly the sociology of food to life. And that will be really fun for the children and fun for the community. And I hope that all schools in Shigar, all schools in rural Pakistan will begin to use their school grounds as a teaching, learning community space.
चमन की ज़ीनत जिस तरह फूल से होती है चमन की ज़ीनत जिंदगी हो मेरी परवाने की सूरत या रब जिंदगी हो मेरी परवाने की सूरत या रब इल्म की शम्म से हो मुझको मोहब्बत या रब इल्म की शम्म से हो मुझको मोहब्बत या हो मेरा काम गरीबों की हिमायत करना हो मेरा काम गरीबों की हिमायत करना दर्दमंदों से ज़ईफ़ों से मोहब्बत करना दर्दमंदों से ज़ईफ़ों से मोहब्बत करना मेरे अल्लाह बुराई से बचाना मुझको मेरे अल्लाह बुराई से बचाना मुझको नेक जो राह हो उस राह पे चलाना मुझको नेक जो राह हो उस राह पे लब पे आती है दुआ बन के तमन्ना मेरी, जिंदगी शम्मा की सूरा हो खुदाया मेरी, जिंदगी शम्मा की सूरा हो खुदाया मेरी।
उठा के मारने शांत